ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد عن أنس رضي الله عنه أن رجلا جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال يا رسول الله أي الدعاء أفضل؟ قال سل ربك العافية والمعافاة في الدنيا والآخرة. ثم أتاه في اليوم الثاني فقال يا رسول الله أي الدعاء أفضل؟ فقال له مثل ذلك. ثم أتاه في اليوم الثالث فقال له مثل ذلك. قال فإذا أعطيت العافية في الدنيا والآخرة في الدنيا وأعطيتها في الآخرة فقد أفلحت. رواه الإمام الترمذي رحمه الله. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلومات. My respected brothers and sisters and honorable elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With so much going on in the world, on so many fronts, our responsibility as the guide of the Ummah becomes only greater and more significant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose this Ummah for a reason. The Prophet of this Ummah was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save the humanity, to save the mankind. And the crimes that were being perpetrated during that time were far more greater than the crimes that are being committed and perpetrated today. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the day Allah chose him and Allah appointed him to be his messenger and to be his prophet, he worked day and night, around the clock, to save the Ummah, to save the humanity from the downfall and destruction that was imminent. Through the efforts of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the humanity once again saved itself from the destruction that it had caused by its own actions. The actions of this humanity took it so far that it was on the verge of destruction. If Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had not come to save this ummah, then this ummah, this humanity, would have all fallen into the worship of idol, into the crimes the worst of all crimes that we can ever think of, and it would have destroyed itself. When does an ummah destroy itself? When does a nation destroy itself? The nation writes its own death with its own actions, with the path that it chooses to follow. If it chooses to follow the good path, then it excels and climbs the ladder of success. And if it chooses to follow the path of destruction, then nothing will save it unless they decide to change their own course of action. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said very clearly in Surah Al-Ra'd, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah never changes the destiny of a nation until they change what they have done to themselves. حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. This is a very concise and comprehensive phrase of this ayah. حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. The word غَيِّرُوا comes from تغيير. And that applies to change, reformation. A change has to come. A change from within, not from outside. When the change comes from outside, it is less effective, less powerful, and less long-lasting. It lasts very little. And then people go back to the old ways. People go back to the ways that they had become addictive of. But when the change comes from within, that change is the change that is required. That change is the change that is needed. That change is the change that lasts. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam worked to bring that change from within, not from outside. The hearts changed. The course of actions changed. People who had their hearts filled with hatred for each other, same hearts were filled with love, with passion, with sympathy, with empathy for each other. So that change that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to is that change that comes from within. And until that change does not come, there's very little hope in the salvation and success of humanity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the same aspect in some other places of the Quran as well. The hadith that I cited to you in the beginning of my khutbah, that hadith is narrated by Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu. He said that once a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, ayyu du'a'i afdal? Which dua is the best? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied, Sal rabbaka al-afiyah wal-mu'afata fi dunya wal-akhirah. Ask Allah, your Rabb, your Lord, your Master, for safety and forgiveness in the life of this world and in the life of hereafter. Then this man, he came the next day again, and he asked the same question. فَقَالَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ أَيُّ الدُّعَاءِ يَفْضَلُ. Maybe he was not content with the answer that he received from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was seeking for something more. So he asked the same question again to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Ya Rasulullah, أَيُّ الدُّعَاءِ يَفْضَلُ. Which dua is the best? Again, فَقَالَ لَهُ مِثْلَ ذَلك. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied to him in same words, and that was, سَلْ رَبَّكَ الْعَافِيَةَ وَالْمُعَافَاةَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Ask your Lord, ask your Rabb, ask Allah for safety and forgiveness in this life and in the hereafter. Again, Anas radiallahu anhu, who was a witness, he said, the same man returned the third day. He came back and he said the same thing. He asked the same question again from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَقَالَ لَهُ مِثْلَ ذَلك. قال, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him, فَإِذَا أُعْطِيتَ الْعَافِيَةَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَأُعْطِيتَهَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ فَقَدْ أَفْلَحْتَ. When you have been granted safety, afiyah, and forgiveness in this world, and when you have been granted that safety in hereafter, فَقَدْ أَفْلَحْتَ. And you have succeeded. You have achieved success. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. He who has purified himself has indeed achieved success. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. And mention the name of his Lord. Mention the name of Allah and perform the salah. Perform the prayer. This hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has many lessons for all of us. And these lessons are such that we need to draw our attention to the practical applications of these lessons in our life today. Where we're standing today. Alhamdulillah, in this country, we enjoy so many blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that many, just like us, are not able to enjoy and are not able to even have in so many parts of the country. Just yesterday, there was a news from Bangladesh that there was a building that collapsed and more than 300 people died. Those people, obviously, their judgment rests with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we need to understand, we need to do two things. First, we need to pray for them. We need to ask Allah to have mercy on them and to give patience to the families of those people. And the second thing that we have to do is we have to account ourselves. We have to thank Allah for the blessings that we enjoy without having deserved those blessings. No one here can claim that I deserve this blessing, because we did not earn those blessings. It is the grace of Allah that He has bestowed those blessings upon us. We enjoy those blessings. And the least that we can do is thank Allah. Remember Allah for those blessings. And the scholars, the ulama, they say that one of the things that we need to remember when we are thanking Allah for the countless blessings that He has bestowed upon us is that we need to make sure that we are not using any of those blessings in ways that are displeasing to Allah. So the blessings that He has bestowed upon us, we're not using the same blessings to disobey Allah and to displease Allah. It is as if someone has given something to you as a favor and you use the same thing to hurt that person. What would be the term? What would be the word for this kind of ingratitude and this kind of return of favor? هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان. The return of a favor could only be another favor. Not something painful, not something hurtful that you do in return. So when you return the favors of Allah in form of disobedience, what does that make us? And where does that put us in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That Allah, who's always doing favors to us, who's always showering His blessings, His mercy, His favors upon us. And what do we do in return with the same favors that Allah has bestowed upon us? We use the same favors, we use the same energy, we use the same strength, we use the same power in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, this Sahabi who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asking for the best dua, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave him an answer that he could remember, and that was the best dua for each and every single one of us. All of us, we need safety. All of us, we need protection. And all of us, we need forgiveness. We need to forgive each other, and we need to ask for forgiveness from Allah. Because no matter how pious we may have become, how good we may have become, but we may not be as good as Allah wants us to be. We still have imperfections. We still have shortcomings. And for those shortcomings, we make istighfar. We ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are two things in this dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he taught to this Sahabi. He said, Sal Rabbak al-afiyah wal-mu'afata fi dunya wal-akhirah. Afiyah refers to safety. And this safety applies to everything. The safety in our house, the safety in our wealth, the safety in our life, and even safety in our health. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he used to perform Salat al-Tahajjud, in Salat al-Tahajjud, he used to make this dua, Allahumma afini fi badani. Oh Allah, give me good health. Oh Allah, give me safety in my health. So my body stays well and healthy. So I don't suffer from illnesses, from diseases, from infections. And then it is also reported that he used to say, Allahumma afini fi jasadi. Oh Allah, grant me safety in my body. And he used to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after every prayer for this afiyah by saying, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-afwa wal-afiyah. Oh Allah, I ask you for this safety and for this protection. And when the safety comes from Allah, and when we ask Allah for safety, it is from all the evil that is around us. And that is even within us. There is an element of evil within ourselves, within our creation, that we have to suppress. By suppressing that element of evil, we overcome the temptations of shaitan. Shaitan tries to misguide us, mislead us by putting us on the wrong path. And we try to defeat the powers of shaitan. We try to defeat the temptations and the will of shaitan by obeying the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only the power that comes from Allah can enable us and help us to defeat the power of shaitan. We cannot defeat shaitan by using a gun. We cannot defeat shaitan by using a bullet. We cannot run from shaitan even in the fastest plane. Nothing can save us from shaitan except the power of Allah. Except the dhikr of Allah. Except the remembrance of Allah. Except the protection from Allah. This is why our Prophet ﷺ taught us to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, the rejected, from the evil of shaitan. So only Allah can save us from shaitan. Because shaitan is a creation and has been created from something other than that we have been created from. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Al-Malaikatu khuliqat min nur. Angels were created from nur, from light. Wal-jinnu wal-iblisu khuliqa min nar. Aw kama qala. And Iblis, the jinn, they were created from the fire. وَالْآدَمْ خُلِقَ مَا وُصِفَ لَكُمْ أَوْ كَمَا قَالَ صلى الله عليه وسلم. And Adam alayhi salam was created from something totally different from these two. From Nur and Nar. Nar is fire, Nur is the light. And Adam alayhi salam was created from the clay. And we are the children of Adam alayhi salam. So we have the same inherited qualities and characteristics. We were created from the same material that Allah created Adam alayhi salam from. So we can deal with each other because we are created from the same way, and if one thing hurts one person, that will hurt the other person as well. If one thing will have some impact on one person, it will have it on the other as well. But our relationship with shaitan and with angels is different. Because both of them have been created from different materials. So the things that may be effective on us may have no effect on shaitan. This is why we cannot see shaitan. And we cannot see angels. Because they have been created differently. Allah created them from a different material. So the only way to save ourselves from shaitan and from his evil is by seeking protection from Allah, the one who created all of us. The one who created everyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware of what we are created from, and what angels are created from, and what shaitan is created from. So we need to ask Allah for protection. And that is very easy. Every time there's a temptation of shaitan coming into your heart to do something bad, whether it is something bad to yourself, against yourself, or against another person, say, A'udhu billah. I seek protection from Allah. And the moment you will say, A'udhu billah, shaitan will run away from you. These are the things that our Prophet ﷺ has taught us. This is why before we start the Quran, the recitation of Quran, we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran as well, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you begin the recitation of Quran, begin by seeking refuge in Allah from shaitan. فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And another thing, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, الدعاء لا يرد بين الأذان والإقامة. The prayer during the time of adhan and iqamah is never rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That time, sometimes it is 15 minutes between adhan and iqamah, sometimes it is 5 minutes between adhan and iqamah, sometimes it is just 2 minutes between adhan and iqamah. That time between adhan and iqamah is such a blessed time that whatever you pray to Allah during that time, Allah will grant. Allah will give it to you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, "Ad-du'a la yuraddu bayna al-adhan wal-iqamah," that no dua is rejected between adhan and iqamah, the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim ajma'in were smarter than us. So they did not think that we should ask for the worldly things or the things that we think are good for us. They asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so if this time is so precious and so valuable, what should we ask Allah in this time? What is the best thing to ask Allah? فَمَاذَا نَقُولُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, سَلُوا اللَّهَ الْعَافِيَةَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Ask Allah for safety in this world and in the hereafter. Because if you are safe in this world and in the hereafter, that is the best thing that you can ask for and the best thing you can have. And that safety, when it comes from Allah, nothing can harm you. No man can harm you. No devil can harm you. Nothing can harm you. When that safety comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another thing, when you see someone in affliction, when you see someone who is suffering from something, pray to Allah for their safety as well. Ask Allah, oh Allah, give that person safety. Oh Allah, give him relief. Oh Allah, ease his suffering by giving that person relief. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to practice upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. A very important announcement, inshallah. This Sunday, we will have a very special guest, inshallah. One of the senior teachers of Hadith, Shaykh al-Hadith, Hafiz Tafadul Haq. He will be visiting us, inshallah, from Bangladesh. He will be here on Sunday, inshallah, and there will be a special talk after Salatul Asr. So we ask all of you, inshallah, to join us at 6 o'clock on Sunday. There will be dinner served after the lecture, inshallah. This will be a very special talk, and we will all benefit from his words, inshallah. So we remind you and we request all of you, inshallah, to join us after Salatul Asr on Sunday, which will be April 28th, inshallah. Also, we will have the weekly hadith lecture tonight, weekly hadith talk. We have been talking about the Islamic will and Islamic testament, and today will be the final session on that, inshallah. We ask you to join us. Jazakallah.